moment where I was like very much like, I think I actually can do this, like really, was after I wrestled Robbie Eagles for the solid PWA championship at Mounties. That was, I like had a moment in the locker room afterwards where I was by myself and I just kind of like it felt like it washed all over me. Like the last year, there's something really special when you connect with like the kids, especially the little girls, because that's such a rare like audience for wrestling. It's such a like you don't see that kind of audience for wrestling. So I think like when you can really connect with the girls, especially like when I usually come out, I just hear little girls cheering straight away, and it immediately just lights me up because I'm like, oh, this is for them. Whatever I'm doing, it's for them.
Welcome to Pario magazine, where I chat with individuals who have a desire to create. Today I'm joined by one of Australia's most entertaining wrestlers and my choice for this year's Most Improved. She's a former OPW and PWA tag team champion as one half of the Backslide Girls. Welcome to Pario magazine, Shay Kassidy.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. We're here today to chat about your journey through the world of pro wrestling so far. Mm-hmm. Before we dive into that, though, I thought I'd like to get a little bit of insight into who is Shay Kassidy away from the ring.
Oh, who is Shay Kassidy away from the ring? That is a completely different ballpark. Shay Kassidy away from the ring, she's very different. Not as hip, not as dancey, very shy, very timid, but still the same kind of friendly, fun vibe, I hope.
Very nice. If you are shy, why wrestling? What pulled you into this crazy world?
Honestly, it was a very like split-second decision. I was just starting my final year of high school, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing after school. I had this whole panic, and then I went, oh, there's some tryouts in Newcastle in a week's time. Let's do that. Let's see how that goes. And here we are.
Very nice. Did you have like an athletic background or anything before that, or like an interest in wrestling at least?
I had no athletic background whatsoever. But yes, very, very heavy interest in wrestling. That was basically from when I was like, as long as I can remember, honestly.
Okay. So then obviously we're here now. And like I mentioned, you are one of the most improved for this year.
Oh, shucks.
Obviously you were doing great work beforehand as half of the Backslide Girls, but you've now kind of gone down this singles path and gone solo more often.
Yes.
Have you felt that improvement in yourself, and was there a moment where it all just started clicking for you?
I've definitely felt a lot more improvement, and also confidence as well. I think that you kind of, when you're going on your own from a tag, especially like a trios, you're kind of you're forced to kind of get out of your shell a bit, and you're like all eyes are on you instead of being on three people.
Yeah, there's no hiding when it's a singles match.
No, I can't. So if I'm not good, you're gonna know. So yeah, I think that was kind of something I had to just honestly just grow more confident in myself, whether I believed it or not. And now I've gotten to a point where I feel really, really good with how I am, with like how I'm going and how I'm being received, which I think is really, really good. And what I guess I was most worried about going solo. But no, I think I'm having also just the most fun as well right now.
Yeah, I've spoken to a few people, and I think that's the moment where it all clicks, is when you start to have fun and be less worried about how is the crowd reacting to this. As long as I'm having fun, they'll probably have fun as well.
Yeah, I think the moment where I was like very much like, I think I actually can do this, like really, was after I wrestled Robbie Eagles for the solid PWA championship at Mounties. That was, I like had a moment in the locker room afterwards where I was by myself, and I just kind of like felt like it washed all over me like the last year. And I think that was where I was like, I think I'm doing all right. I think I'm doing okay now.
Yeah, I guess if you can get in there and hang with Robbie,
Yeah.
I think you're probably doing pretty good.
I'd like to think so, right? I'd like to think that.
And over that sort of 12 to 18 months where you have sort of shifted to solo and made those big improvements, what have you been doing to get those extra steps and increase the performance?
I have been really working. I mean, I guess this is pretty obvious. I've been working a lot on my promos, which, I mean, I'm trying to basically just be in your face all the time on social media.
Yeah, one of them literally just popped up while I was waiting.
One of them got posted as I was waiting. But yeah, I think that's one thing that I feel like isn't like. I think it's also a thing that I don't think is touched on enough by wrestlers is like the promos and like the really big like character bits that I really want to try and push forward, as well as the wrestling, of course. But I think if I can have a really distinct character and a really fun, bubbly, very authentic presentation of that character, then I think that will really kind of help me get pretty far there, as well as obviously, you know, wrestling and also training as much as I can and just figuring out who I am as a singles rather than an extension of Kingsley or an extension of Everett Connors, you know.
Mm-hmm. And especially in PWA where the in-ring level for everyone across the board is fantastic. You've kind of got to go in those other directions and make the character special as well.
Yeah, I think it really just, for me, is like, I know that if there's a card with like Robbie Eagles or Ben Braxton, you know what I mean? I'm not going to wrestle to the caliber of that. I will have my own specialty that if I just push into that, then there's not a lot of people that can do that. So I have to take advantage of what I have and use that.
And then with the Mountie shows, have you found it's sort of the younger audience that are really gravitating to you, especially like young girls?
Yes, I think Mounties has really quickly become one of my favorite crowds for that reason. I think at the Black Labels, obviously you get a crowd connection, but I feel like there's something really special when you connect with like the kids, especially the little girls, because that's such a rare like audience for wrestling. It's such a like, you don't see that kind of audience for wrestling. So I think like when you can really connect with the girls, especially like when I usually come out, I just hear little girls cheering straight away, and it immediately just lights me up because I'm like, oh, this is for them. Whatever I'm doing, it's for them.
Yeah, these are my people. Nobody else can have them. They're my people.
Everyone else can back off.
And you mentioned sort of developing the character a lot more. If we look back at early Shay Kassidy to current day Shay Kassidy, very different characters. One was kind of dark, brooding, emo Shay Kassidy. And now we've got bright, bubbly Power Ranger Shay Kassidy. Yep. Where did that change come from?
Well, like, I feel like it was such a real... When we started doing the Backside Girls gimmick, it was the brooding Shay Kassidy, but then with colourful clothing. Like, so it was kind of like that weird merge of the two. And I felt so not comfortable being, like, a bubbly pop star, whereas Kingsley was very natural in that.
Yes.
And so I kind of was just, like, kind of there. But I think the more I teamed with Kingsley and I teamed with Everett, it really helped me kind of figure out how to get a bit more comfortable with being a little bit more out there, with a little bit more, like, adding a bit more to what I do. But then, yeah, I think it really came across, I think, last year. If you like look at the end of 2023 and like the end of 2024, we have a very different Shay Kassidy. Even at the end of 2024 to now, we have a very different Shay Kassidy, I think. Which I think it really probably happened around like mid last year was when I was really trying to really work on developing the character further, especially because I knew Kingsley was going to Canada. So I really had to pull myself out of my own shell to build basically the character that I have now.
Yeah, for me, it kind of reminds me of sort of the teenage rom-coms where the nerdy girl gets the glow up, and like Shay Kassidy was the girl that gave you the glow up.
Honestly, I feel pretty glowed up. I'll tell you now.
And you mentioned the match with Robbie. If you looked back at the start, do you think a young Shay Kassidy would have ever believed that you would be going toe to toe, one on one with Robbie Eagles and not looking out of place?
Oh God, no. There was so many people like that in I was kind of having like a moment that day where I was like, am I is this meant like is this for me? Like is this gonna be for me to do? Like, I was having a little bit, I guess, imposter syndrome of like, is this really my opportunity? Like, is this what I deserve? Especially like when I was younger, because I started when I was like 16. So I was so young and insecure, and I didn't know what I want or what I wanted or who I was. And really having that match, I was actually surprisingly calm on the day. Pretty calm. You can ask a lot of people. I was pretty level headed before and after the match. And then I
Was it the
think
weeks leading up where the nerves were, though?
weeks leading up, I was kind of like, it was becoming more real. Well, also because I was originally meant to face Charlie Evans until like 2 weeks before, and then she pulled out because she was hurt. And so it was like a 2 week turnaround of me just being like, I'm versing Robbie Eagles in 2 weeks. I'm wrestling Robbie Eagles in 2 weeks, guys. Ugh. But then again, like after the match, I just had this like, I feel like I had this weird moment of like every memory I've had in wrestling just from the start to like that present point. And I just like felt really accomplished in that moment, which was really nice. I feel like I haven't felt that in wrestling until that point.
And do you have like a strategy for overcoming nerves, or have you had to develop a strategy for overcoming nerves over the years?
Oh, I actually used to have really bad nerves. When I started wrestling, I would have nerves like basically the entire day. Now I get nerves probably like 10 minutes before you go out, because you're just like, oh, I'm about to go and do it, and that's gonna happen, and that's so fine. I think in my head I've just got to be like, I've just got to pump myself up. I've got to get like really into it and pumped, and sometimes I just like do little dances backstage, and I just like pump myself up, and I talk to people, and I'm just pumping myself up with other people, and I'm bantering with other people, because I don't try to put my, like, obviously I'll go through my match and everything, but I don't do it. I don't try to dawn too much on that. I don't try to over go through my match, because then that's when I like will go off. Do I know it, or like am I like, I'll start overthinking it. There's like a sweet spot there. But then, yeah, basically I'm just trying to have as much fun as I can to like ease my nerves, but not get rid of them. Because if I get rid of them, then, if I don't feel nervous, I feel like it won't feel like I've, done something. But yeah.
And then the elaborate sort of entrances and stuff too, is that where a lot of the nerves comes from? Because I feel like that'd be more nerve-wracking for me than everything else.
I don't think I could explain to you how nervous I was for the Metro when we did Believe by Cher, because I was like, because this was the first match without Kingsley. This was just me and Everett. It was in the Metro, so I think like 600 people, 700 or something like that. And I was like, and I turned just Jax Jordan, who like runs all the behind the scenes, really, basically. I was asking him, I was like, I don't know if they're gonna sing it. I'm actually really nervous they're just not gonna be there for like the song. And he was like, don't ever say that to me again, they're gonna sing it. And I was like, all right.
Sorry, Jax.
So sorry, Jax Jordan. But yeah, basically that was actually, I was so like, it's kind of good in a way, because I get more nervous for the entrances, and then after the entrance I'm kind of okay, like the adrenaline's up there, so the match doesn't make me as nervous. But oh my god, yeah, I get so nervous for the entrances. Like they're like in my head, I'm like, if it doesn't go, if that, like, if we don't get them, if we don't get the crowd in with this, what can we do? What can we
Yep.
do?
And especially because the entrance, literally all the eyes are on you. At least in the match, like, someone might be watching the other person wrestle.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But I think it's a good thing though, because it's like all eyes are on you. So if you smash it out of the park, then it's like great, you got all the attention on you. So yeah, I relive that. I relive that Cher entrance every now and then, because that
Very cool.
that really gets my heart going.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention, the newest gear set that we've seen you wearing on shows is the Power Rangers inspired set.
Yes.
What influenced that? Is that another one of those long time fandoms?
Yes. It literally is kind of the same thing as wrestling. I just was basically, I love the Power Rangers since I was young. I didn't watch Mighty Morphin. Like I obviously had seen it on TV, but I hadn't seen the entirety of that series until like probably like 5 years ago or something. And
that's because you're so young.
That's
the old Power Rangers. That's my Power Rangers.
Look, but basically, like I binge watched like maybe like 10 of the series, all because they were on at Netflix at one point. So I just legit binged them one by one. And yeah, I just thought the Tommy Green Ranger so iconic. And I was trying to think of different color gear, because at that point I'd had pink and purple and blue and red, and I was like, I need to stray away from those ones. So I thought, I had the idea of having green gear, and then I don't even remember if it was my idea or not, but I feel like someone told me Green Power Ranger, and I just went, oh, of course, why wouldn't I do that? That makes so much sense. And legit, it's like my favorite gear. It's so good. I wear it as much as I can.
And I guess if you go down this whole Power Rangers path, there are so many options to do different variations of gear that are Power Rangers but totally different.
Oh, there's like hundreds. We could make hundreds of gears with all of the possible iterations and all sorts of like, oh, there's so many. But my next gear won't be Power Rangers inspired. That's something I definitely know for sure.
Okay, we'll keep an eye out for that. The one thing that has remained consistent throughout the Shay Kassidy presentation is Barnaby. How did that part of the character evolve?
Honestly, Barnaby was kind of like he wasn't there in my debut match. That's the only match I've never had him in, because he wasn't an ID then. He came in like a couple months later because I was trying to find something to differentiate myself. So people would go to shows and be like, oh, there was the girl with the bear. I remember that, Mm-hmm. And that's kind of just evolved as something that I didn't know what to do with. Like, at first, I didn't know what to do with Barnaby. I kind of just like, he's just kind of something I have. And he can also just be a little bit of like a vessel of storytelling if like someone kicks him and then that kind of starts our match or something like that. He's now kind of developed into his own, like, I guess he's his own like little personality, he's a little diva now that we've got going on, that has his own little outfits and that I've strapped on now, so I don't have to just carry him around like this. I can actually do stuff with him on, which I think is quite efficient for me. But he's honestly just become he's just a very fun addition to anything that I do, in that if I need him for something in a match, I'm like, oh yes, we have Barnaby. We can use him for something if we need. Like, it just adds something different to a show, I feel. And I think that can be really helpful when you're trying to make yourself a little bit different and try and make yourself stand out a bit more.
Have you ever considered mini Barnabys for merch?
I've got mini ones, but I've been really trying to look at like getting stuffed bears, like probably a little bit bigger, like maybe like that or something. But I actually don't know, honestly, where to get started with that.
Yeah, where do you get them at an affordable price that makes it viable?
Where do you get them in bulk, When I do find out how to, though, I will very much be selling them, because I think they're just a very cute little addition, and I think the kids would really like it, because it's actually another thing going off of really loving having the kids be there for me is like a lot of them have started bringing their own stuffed animals to shows, and I think that's one of my favorite things. So yes, I will once I figure it out, I'm there. I got it. I'll do it.
So then if we look ahead, AEW recently announced a return to Australia with a big show coming to Sydney in February. If there was to be a PWA or an Australian super show around that day, who would be the dream opponent for Shay Kassidy?
Oh gosh. You know, like, oh man. I feel like I've been really loving watching Axe Massacre. I feel like I see her on my Instagram, and I just love her look so much. I think her look is so distinct, and so you see it and you go, I know who that is. I think that would be a really fun dynamic because she feels a bit more of a gritty wrestler, whereas I feel like I go into a very different style and vibe. But I think that could be a really fun mix of things.
Yeah, it's basically like the pop star versus the hair metal queen.
Yeah, literally. Let's have a what's it called? Headbang contest. I can do it.
And recently you had the match against Amber, who was like another total opposite of Shay Kassidy. It's always a fun dynamic when it's two totally different characters.
It's kind of funny because like Amber kind of like looks in a similar way to the old Shay Kassidy, like the kind of dark, colors and everything. So it was quite a funny comparison in that way that I thought.
If we looked internationally too, like AEW have been known to work with independent partners. They have like that dark brooding team on the women's side of the Sisters of Sin. If we can tell Kingsley to come back for one show,
please,
that would be a great combo.
I'll do my best. Oh, she's doing so well. I'll do my best.
And then if we look beyond that, what are the grand goals in wrestling now that you are doing so well?
Oh gosh, I feel the goal, I mean, for me is just to really just consistently get better and to consistently just keep working to get better with my character and with my wrestling, which I feel like I'm getting there. Always stuff to do, always stuff to work on, I think. But I definitely feel like one of the goals, honestly, is just one of the big goals. Probably the biggest goal is just a contract. That's, I think a lot of people would have a very similar goal to that. But I think for right now, like in this moment, is just to keep pushing myself out of my comfort zone and keep striving to do better in a wrestling sense, in a character sense, in just a performing sense.
Yep. And you've been doing that a lot in the last 12 months, going over to Perth a couple of times and down to Melbourne. Like, you're going all these different places and learning from new people, which is always a plus.
Oh, yeah. I love wrestling people that I don't train with because I feel like it's such a fun thing to just be like, all right, I don't like know you that well, but we can have a lot of fun with what we're doing. And I think that's always really good. I like.
Awesome. So finally, where is the best place for people to support you and track your creative journey moving forward?
I think the best place, like my number one place, would be my Instagram, and that would be Shay Kassidy Pro. Also can find me at TikTok, Shay Kassidy Pro. My Facebook, not as often used, but still there. I think it's just Shay Kassidy. What else do I have? A Twitter, Shay Kassidy Pro.
Thank you for taking the time and good luck with everything, and hopefully we'll get some of those big dream matches coming up in February.
Let's hope. Let's pray.